The Hutts are well on their way to completion and being ready to play in the next releases of both Thrawn's Revenge and Fall of the Republic. But while we've already covered some of their unique tactical mechanics, being able to call in extra units to aid in defenses throughout the galaxy in my video on the Butana Hutta mechanic, we haven't said much about how the Hutts will differ on the Galactic level yet, and mechanics that will allow them to get some unique heroes like Darth Maul. First, unlike other factions, the Hutts will not be able to build additional tax agencies. Instead, they'll have to rely on extra criminal activities like smuggling to increase their income. While smuggling does exist in the base game, Empire at War doesn't actually let you target factions beyond the main three properly with some abilities like that. So we've taken that technical hurdle as an opportunity to handle things a little bit differently for how we're going to do smuggling. You'll still start by building a smuggler, but instead of the deploy box you'd use in the base game, you'll just place them on the enemy planet you wish to smuggle from. At the end of the cycle, they'll deploy themselves and a particle will show next to the planet. You'll be able to deploy up to 5 smugglers to one planet, reflected by increasing the number of credit symbols next to the planet where your criminal network has spread. The bigger your network on a planet, the more credits you'll be siphoning. Right now, the network will only reduce in level if the planet changes hands, but in the future, the smuggling will take credits directly from the enemy as base game smuggling does, and there will be more ways for others to interact with the system, involving higher levels having a higher chance of the enemy finding out about it. But while we flesh out the Hutt's economy right now, we don't want to make it overly complicated and we don't want to make other factions have to worry about it too much. You'll always be able to see just how much money you're making from smuggling through the credit lines on the main Galactic window as well as in the government information view. Keep in mind you can't smuggle from your own worlds, and the higher the value of the enemy planet, the more credits you'll be taking from it, so try to plan your conquests accordingly. Beyond those changes to their economy, we're trying to make sure every faction has at least some progression goals throughout the game, like the Republic does with the Order 65 and 66 choice, and the CIS does with their corporate integration. This is also where things like legitimacy and the Dark Empire mechanics in Thrawn's Revenge work in. For the Hutts, there are 2 primary paths you'll be going down. There's the Remobilization path and the Scum and Villainy path. These paths both exist in both Fall of the Republic and Thrawn's Revenge, and they'll exist in Revan's Revenge as well, and they give different rewards for each mod. Keep in mind with this section especially that everything you're seeing is still a work in progress, so there are still some more rewards to come, and values won't necessarily remain where they are for what's there. First, let's talk about Remobilization. The Hutts primarily focus on their underworld activities, but at different points in Star Wars history, they've returned to their militaristic roots as the galactic situation dictates, especially after the Yuuzhan Vong War devastated the worlds. As you progress down this tree, which mostly happens through missions or sending units to Butana Hutta, and again check out that video if you haven't seen that one, you'll unlock some of the new ship designs and heroes associated with those ships. For Fall of the Republic, the ships available through this tend to be the types developed canonically by the Hutts in the Imperial period, like the Cossack class and the massive Dorbulla, both of which are standard types for the Hutts in Thrawn's Revenge. So you're basically speeding up the production of some of these later era designs. In Thrawn's Revenge, the ship types tend to be those made after the Hutts started remilitarizing and joined the Confederacy in the Second Galactic Civil War, like the Batil, Tirada, and Chalandion. The Scum and Villainy path tends to have some of the more unique rewards. These points will increase through missions as well as by increasing your smuggling network throughout the galaxy, and it's how you unlock certain pirate heroes or associated units as you go. But in both mods it does have a final progression reward, which is its big draw. In Thrawn's Revenge, this is Durga the Hutt and the failed superweapon Darksaber. This, like the Eclipse and Sovereign, will be able to target enemy ships and structures in battle, but once we have systems finalized for how we want to handle planet destruction, which is likely to be a focus of the next version rather than this version, the Darksaber will also be able to destroy planets. However, considering Darksaber was an unreliable scrap heap, there will be some chances to hurt itself in confusion. In Fall of the Republic, the Scum and Villainy branch is how we're integrating the Shadow Collective into the mod. The Shadow Collective, as we've explained before, is not big enough or powerful enough on its own to be its own faction. It doesn't have much territory on its own, and it doesn't have much of a navy beyond a couple gunships, so if we were trying to make them into a faction, we'd have to make up both all of their content and just the idea that they'd have that content. The Hutts were really the main muscle available to them, so since the Hutts are already their own playable faction, it makes most sense to integrate the Shadow Collective content through them. So when you maximize your underworld influence, Darth Maul will approach you, and that's how the Shadow Collective content will become available. At some point this will include a tactical mission where Maul takes power. Right now, though, the main content is gaining Darth Maul and Savage as heroes, which is a pretty good reward on its own, but there's plenty of other directions it can and will be expanded. Even with those other opportunities to grow the faction and flesh out these paths and mechanics further in the future, the Hutts are probably launching as one of the most fleshed out factions in the mod, with some of the most unique mechanics. So we're hoping you all enjoy them as we head towards the beta testing phase for the mods, which should start very soon for Fall of the Republic especially. Thanks for watching, and for more information, check out the Discord server for the EaWX mods linked in the description.